Every family has their crazy uncle. My Uncle Donald is atomic crazy.
Why do you think people in the military support him?
I have no idea. And I know many people who were in the military, and I had the pleasure of speaking on an interview with National Defense Radio, which goes out to the armed services. And I told the truth. I basically told this story, and I said, he just doesn't give a shit about them. He just doesn't. It's the great Godfather 2, one of the last scenes when Sonny says, "Country ain't your blood, kid." And Michael Corleone says, "No, I don't believe that." Donald believes in Donald.
Trump's nephew is right, because the views that his uncle, Cadet Bone Spurs, has about the military can be boiled down to this scene from The Godfather 2.
They're saps because they risk their lives for strangers.
Tiny Fingers doesn't have the compassion or the humility to think about anyone other than himself.
Fred Trump III speaking out against his uncle in a new book. It's called All in the Family, and it alleges the former president used a racial slur and suggested disabled people should, quote, just die.
Including fallen soldiers and war heroes like John McCain.
Supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured.
We spoke the last time we were here about how I had the honor of meeting Senator McCain. You know, a word that has been cheapened over the years, but I said to my kids, Andrea, Christopher, this is a genuine hero, okay? Let's make no mistake about it. The fact that Donald called him, in essence, a loser, I don't get it.
It's honestly a national disgrace that this guy was ever in charge of our military to begin with. And even when he pretends to honor the heroes that died in service to our country, his actions belie his true intentions. Using dead soldiers and their families as props for a political propaganda TikTok video.
We lost 13 great people.
Great people, my ass. If Trump truly cared about those lost in the tragedy during the Afghanistan withdrawal, why the hell didn't he try doing it himself? The harsh truth? Because he doesn't care and purely sees the tragedy as a campaign talking point.
It's not even believable how stupid these people were to allow this to happen to our country, and we became a laughingstock all over the world. And we buried 13 soldiers. They never mentioned the 45 soldiers that just were so badly hurt, obliterated, legs, arms, face.
But you go, anyone who is disabled or anyone who he deems lesser than him is a loser.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
Okay, that's just the way he is. That ain't going to change.
His insults about service members catching up with him. He's panicked. Losers and suckers, he called us. Confirmed. Refusing to be seen with wounded warriors because it makes him queasy. Refusing to salute the fallen of World War I because he, quote, doesn't understand what was in it for them. Because he was afraid his dye job might run in the rain.
The con man in chief doesn't have the capacity to even feign the level of respect our military deserves, and his older brother was in the Air National Guard.
Well, first, let me just say, my father, Donald's older brother, was in ROTC at Lehigh University and then voluntarily went into the Air National Guard.
But I guess that's no surprise when you consider how disgustingly he regularly talks about his own family.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird.
She's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
The only one in the Trump family to ever serve.
No surprise there, he might be the only one ever to serve in the Trump family. I mean, could you imagine Tweedledee or Tweedledum fighting for anything but their own self-interest? Besides, Don Jr. would probably be dishonorably discharged for bad behavior.
Donald Trump Jr.'s on cocaine.
Don Jr.'s on coke.
I have a cocaine addiction.
But as we heard, Trump's atomic craziness doesn't just stop at demeaning and degrading fallen soldiers and the military writ large. On top of his hateful bigotry towards women, immigrants, and the LGBTQ community, he also doesn't give a damn about the disabled.
Every family has their crazy uncle. My Uncle Donald is atomic crazy.
After his uncle was elected president, Fred Trump says he saw an opportunity to advocate for the disabled.
I was in the Oval Office 12 times, and that was our mission, to advocate for people with complex disabilities. It culminated in May of 2020, and he just came out with, these people, all the expenses, they should just die. He's talking about human beings who have complex issues, and the first thing he could say was, they should just die.
And as if all that weren't bad enough, those sentiments even extend to members of his own family.
Fred claims this wasn't isolated, describing a phone call to alert his uncle the medical fund set up by the family for his son William was running low, a fund he says the former president consistently replenished.
A couple of years ago, I called him. I said, Donald, the fund's running out. And without hesitation, he said, your son doesn't recognize you. Let him die and move to Florida.
Were you surprised?
It's a great question. My response was, no, Donald, he does recognize me, and said, well, thanks, and hung up.
And when that's the way the human-shaped cancer on society talks about his own family, it's no wonder he treats the military like gum on the bottom of his shoe.
Comparing his sexploitations with the likes of Jeffrey Epstein, to the sacrifice of those who went in his place to Vietnam. Now, maybe the greatest insult of all, turning a military cemetery visit into a political stunt.
What a horrible day it was. We didn't lose one person in 18 months.
Disgusting. Donald Trump, the grave markers veterans and military families drop a knee to are not your political props. They represent the heroes we served alongside. Men and women you could never measure up to. Friends who lived and died by the oath we all swore to uphold. Something you will never understand.
And while his lack of understanding could come from him having the IQ of a doorknob or a heart 3 times smaller than the Grinch's, it's far more likely that it stems from him deeming serving and sacrificing for his own country for no benefit to himself as too far beneath him.
Risk their lives for their country.
Your country ain't your blood, you remember that.
And the irony isn't lost on me that even Trump's own blood had this to say about how he feels about his country.
And I told the truth. I basically told this story, and I said, he just doesn't give a shit about them. He just doesn't. Donald believes in Donald.
So let's make sure no service member ever has to salute Cadet Bone Spurs as the Commander-in-Chief ever again. Thank you for watching, folks. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.